episode number 13. We're talking about the hidden messages in your dreams. Not talking about the dreams of your life, your goals, but really what happens every night when we have these dreams and what do they mean? It's going to be very interesting. I'm so excited. So let's get started. Welcome to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. We are redefining relationships to guide you to greater love, more success, and living your purpose through the latest research in neuroscience, Jungian psychology, and Eastern wisdom. Get ready for another inspirational episode of Creative Love Radio.
Episode number 13.
Lucky number 13.
Yes, the hidden messages in dreams. And this is really my favorite topic. I know I always say it's our favorite topic.
I know.
But this one is really my favorite topic.
We love what we teach.
They're all my favorite topics.
But I love the dreams too, because I think the biggest change that I had spiritually in my consciousness and awareness of how our mind is by understanding the dreams. Yeah. And it's just so amazing. So we're going to talk about the hidden messages that you have every night that are actually giving you guidance and love and purpose in your life. And so sit back and relax. And
don't fall asleep.
Don't fall asleep yet.
Yes, so dreams, let's start off with the biology because we know there's a biological component to dreaming. First of all, it's an imperative. You have to sleep every night. Every 24-hour cycle, you got to be down and you got to get some rest, right? And what happens when nature forces us to go into that altered state of mind, it's almost like a coma, then it creates these beautiful experiences, sometimes mystical, sometimes scary, experiences that we call dreaming. And it's a virtual reality that we drop into and we experience all these things. We're in different cities with different people. All of a sudden we're in a different country, perhaps traveling. And while we're dreaming, most of us don't realize that we're dreaming. We're thinking this is reality. So I'm experiencing these things, right? So it's an incredible thing that happens every single night. And a lot of people say, well, I don't dream. I don't dream. That's false because everyone dreams. It's more correct to say, I don't remember my dreams. And that a simple technique is to simply write down everything you remember in the morning, or even if you don't remember anything, just write that down and start keeping a journal, and you'll start to recall your dreams. So anyway, biologically, what's going on is there's a brain system that's in the brainstem, and when you fall asleep, your senses shut down, but actually many areas of your brain are more active than they are when you're awake.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's these nuclei in the brainstem that are, all their purpose is to make sure you get these signals while you're sleeping that then translate into the dream. It fires all these, it shoots all this energy up into the brain, and your brain then has to make sense of it, and it creates these dreams for us. Now, just because there's a biology that kind of explains some of that, it doesn't mean your dreams don't have meaning. On the contrary, we know from psychology, from Freud, from Jung, from many other Adler and Gestalt psychologists that dreams are really meaningful. And they've always been a part of humanity's spiritual traditions. There's a deep, deep connection to that spiritual tradition in almost all cultures and through all times.
And they have to mean something, because why would we go create these worlds? Like, what would be the purpose of them, right? If they didn't have any meaning, why would we go into this state every night and create these worlds if there wasn't something to learn from them? And I think originally people thought they were just like your mind just processing stuff through the day. and reorganizing the memories and kind of shuffling around. And that's what the dream was. A lot of the psychology, some of the, kind of scientist people that don't believe in more expanded consciousness. And we really realize that there's so much information, and from the mystical aspects of people from thousands of years ago use dreams to predict the weather, predict migration of the peoples, and predict enemies coming, and all these psychic or intuitive experience. But let's start at the practical level here,
right,
and then we'll move into the mystical. So for everyone listening, what can we do with dreams on a practical level, day to day? How can it help us find love? How can it help us with our relationships?
Mm-hmm. Well, we know at the personal level, dreams are speaking to us continuously, but we're not listening, right? That's the thing. As soon as you start to tune into them, and the unconscious mind gets the message that you're listening, right? That you're paying attention to what it's saying, it'll start to guide you. The dreams act as a guide, and there's actual symbols that will appear in your dreams that will act as guides through the unconscious mind. So it's really establishing a two-way communication between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind.
So a lot of times it's this maybe something we're repressing or we're not conscious of, that it's reflecting back to us so we know, but also kind of foreshadowing. A lot of times I remember having dreams, and it was like I was in a fork in the road many times in my life, and it was showing me a new direction. I have a dream about my future self, and it would be like, oh, that's an inspiration. I've even had dreams about story, because I'm a writer. So stories I was going to write, like, of the characters and people that were coming into my life, and just really amazing how it just kind of guiding you and showing you maybe where you're going down the wrong path, and it's kind of redirecting you. Those type of dreams, really powerful.
Right. Like a famous philosopher said, when you come to a fork on the road, take it. No, but we know from creative individuals that dreams play a big role in their personal creativity. So if dreams are playing a big role in creative endeavors, they can certainly play a big role in our everyday experiences. So, what our everyday experiences are: work, our family, our relationships, friendships, etc. And
our health and our body.
Our health, all those elements, the dreams can guide us through whatever questions we have. They can help us answer those questions and help us respond to life and to those situations in a creative way. That's the key right there, is that the unconscious mind has a different take on what's going on with us.
And I want to just interrupt you for a moment, because I know a lot of people think of the unconscious as more the Freudian subconscious, that this idea that, it's basically patterns from our past. But the unconscious mind in Jungian psychology, there's actually two levels to it. There's the personal unconscious, which is storing all your memories and your kind of personality traits that you're putting in the shadow and those type of things. And then there's the collective unconscious, which is basically the part that connects to everything and everyone. And that's why we have these dreams of these other worlds and things that we couldn't consciously imagine. Right. So we have so what we're really getting is more than just kind of like feedback from our limited mind and just our conditioning into this life, but we're actually connecting to our inner wisdom in dreams.
Absolutely. And we know Paul McCartney, he says that song Yesterday came to him in a dream.
Wow.
We know Mozart had a lot of dreams where he would hear the music complete as it is now and just copy it and write it down. A lot of scientists have made discoveries through paying attention to their dreams. Mm-hmm. So it's not just creative types, but also scientific types, and also just ordinary human beings, all the way from the prophets to people working in the market, just if you tune into your dreams, you will find guidance to respond to life in a creative way.
And our clients are constantly, amazed at how the dream is really showing them also where they are in their process of individuation, of becoming their true self, and what's in the way, and things. It's almost like that missing piece that you can't see. Right. That the blind spots that you can't consciously, logically figure out. It's like kind of that secret weapon that we have. Some people ask us, what is your secret weapon when working with people? And it's the dream work, because if you can work with someone and then understand their dreams, you can really give them a lot more guidance and help them and direct them if they knew what was the content of their dreams meant. And it's really a beautiful process.
Right, and in dream interpretation, the whole idea is that the unconscious is speaking a different language. It's called symbolism. Now, if you don't understand symbolism, the dream will not make sense to you, because you'll try to interpret it in a literal way, right? So if you dream of a plane going down, or your boss yelling at you, or somebody dying, you'll tend to interpret it as, okay, my mind is trying to say something about my boss or the plane or my father or something, right? But that's not the way to interpret dreams. Dreams are speaking a symbolic language. So the unconscious uses some of the images in our conscious mind and our experiences to construct a message. But it's using those symbols in a symbolic way, so that the image represents something else.
Let me give an example of that. A lot of people have dreams of their ex, or first love, and they're like, or I keep dreaming about my ex, getting back together with him, or having sex with my ex, or he's cheating on me, and it's like, why do I keep dreaming about this person? Am I still hanging on to them? Is that what it means? And that would be, an ordinary person would say, oh yeah, you must be still hung up on your ex. That's why you keep dreaming. No, the ex is a symbolic figure about your relationship with men, if you're a woman, or if it's a female that you're dreaming about. And you're really, it's like, what is the pattern in that relationship that is your dream is saying this pattern is still there, but it's using the X as kind of like a symbol to symbolize the pattern, not the person. And so really in these, when you dream of other people, a lot of people misunderstand, like, oh, I had a dream about my sister died. And it's like, well, is she really going to die? And it's like, no. Death equals transformation. So a lot of time, if you don't understand what the symbols mean, you can really go down the wrong path and think terrible things about your future, or think these are predictions.
Bad omens.
Yeah, bad omens, or, I'm going to lose my job, or, these things are happening. And it really is just, a lot of it is a really great message. And it may come in the way our conscious mind perceives them as something bad happening.
Right. And I think part of it is that it's a very ancient and archaic language. In other words, it goes back to before we were primitive people. That symbolic language was already in place. And so the symbols often appear to us weird and strange, and, it doesn't make sense. So like you were saying, death is not death in dream. It means transformation. Sex is not literal sex. It's integration, meaning merging of two elements.
Two opposites normally, right?
Exactly.
Finding the middle ground.
Yes. And so everything in the dream has to be interpreted in that symbolic sense.
Oh, I have another one that people dream about getting married. And a lot of them think, oh, I'm marrying my ex, or I'm marrying this person. And does that mean I'm going to get married? And marriage in the Jungian dream interpretation is the merging of the feminine and masculine together and creating a wholeness within yourself, your own feminine masculine side. So it's telling you to integrate those things. And so it's not just marriage, like a premonition of you getting married. It's a much deeper meaning, very symbolic.
Right. So a lot of people ask, is there a dictionary that I can use, to decipher my dreams? Yes and no. There are archetypal symbols that can be translated in this way. But again, it's like literature. You can use the same letter to create...
Or same word. Even.
Yeah, the same word to create a very different sentence and a very different meaning to that word in the context of a sentence. So there are universal archetypal elements in dream interpretation, but it's also very flexible, and it depends on the feeling tone of the dream also. So,
and what's going on in the person's life, and
yes.
how far they are in individuating. And
exactly. So a lot of factors come into play. Now, it doesn't mean it's impossible to interpret dreams. Once you start to get the hang of it, just like any language, the more you practice it, the more you kind of get the hang of it. You start to create a dialogue between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind through that dream work. And that's where we want to get to.
And if you think about wholeness, it's really that feeling of that you're connected. The conscious mind is just a small part of who we are, and the unconscious is so vast. And so what you're doing is you're bringing the two together so they can work. So you get like the whole picture. Yeah. Instead of just seeing half of the picture of your life and trying to figure things out blindly, it gives you a more complete picture of the direction of your life, what's stopping you from getting what you want. And that's really on a personal level. And then so dreams have like different levels. First, there's a personal level. It helps you with your personal life. But it also helps us move to a higher level.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. You can usually tell when a dream is arising from the personal unconscious because it's got images that you recognize and people you recognize. But then we've all had those dreams that we have never, ever experienced these kind of things. That those dreams are coming from the collective unconscious. And the collective unconscious, if you can imagine an ocean of history, the history of humanity,
that we're
all contributing to that unconscious mind, and us being able to draw a little bit of water from that collective mind. And it contains, according to Jungian theory, it contains the experiences of all human beings that have ever existed in that great ocean of consciousness or unconsciousness. Now, he calls it unconscious because it's primarily we are unconscious of it.
But in itself, it's not. It's very alive.
Very much so. It's like another intelligence that we have within us. And so not to be able to tap into that and not to use that in our everyday life is really a shame. We need to keep this tradition alive of reconnecting with our unconscious mind through dreams. Because it's very useful not only for creatives but for everyday people. So before we get into the mystical parts, because we know dreams take us down that path, like we were said in the beginning. The way to connect with the collective unconscious is to first integrate a lot of those, let's say, a lot of the hang-ups or unresolved conflicts. Jung calls them complexes.
In our personal life?
In our personal life. All right. And dreams help us do that. When we start paying attention to our dreams, what's going to arise, first of all, are some of those complexes. Everybody's heard of the mother complex or
the father complex.
Those kind of complexes, they're simply like, if you can think of them as sore spots that gather energy onto them. They're
like unresolved, and they're kind of like not free flow, kind of like when you go for a massage and you have a little knot in your back because like the muscles like kind of tweaked. It's not hurt or wounded in any way. It's just kind of tweaked from basically not being aligned with the rest of the natural flow.
Yes, and it's been pushed away into the unconscious.
Yeah.
And so what the dreams help us do is they kind of help us recover some of those forgotten, repressed elements and bring them to light, to consciousness, right? Then we can work with them. We can digest them instead of kind of keeping them away and defending ourselves against them, right? Because we don't want to look at those things.
So an example of that would be, say you are someone who doesn't express any emotion, right? And you're kind of very logical, and you're working in your business or your corporate job, and you're trying to find love, and you're overly practical. You're kind of like, it's like a mission. I'm going to find the person. I'm going to make my checklist. And then you have all these dreams of all this, like you feel like you wake up and it's all emotional, and you're like, where did all that emotion come from? The dream is really showing you, and it'll show you in different ways with emotion, and it'll also show you in having dreams about bathrooms, or bathroom represents the emotion. So or water sometimes can represent the emotion, and so you'll be like, why am I dreaming all these floods? And so the dream is saying, hey, this part needs to be integrated. And so when our clients get those dreams, what we do is we have them notice and bring more emotion into what they're doing, pay attention to the emotions they're suppressing. And then that actually helps them feel more complete. So when they go out and date, their heart can be more open. So that's a simple example of, they don't know what they're doing wrong if they're just in the practical state. And then the dream is saying, hey, this part is missing here. It's all this energy that you're not using that you can use for love. And so it's kind of like you said, the hidden messages. It's like this hidden treasure chest that we have in our mind that we're not tapping into. And so that's why dreams are really, really powerful, and just even your personal life, to live a more whole life and feel more in control over the direction of your life.
Absolutely. So once we resolve a lot of those complexes and those like the shadow work and all that personal stuff in the personal unconscious, then we head out into the wild, wild ocean of the collective unconscious. And it's very much like going, beyond the shore where we can't see land anymore. We're going into uncharted territory of our mind. And that's spiritual work, really. That's why it's connected. Dreams have always been connected to spiritual traditions, because we're now entering that collective mind, that universal mind that is going to bring up symbols that we've never experienced before in waking life. Right?
So we have people speak different languages in their dreams at that level. They just kind of, I don't ever know Italian, and I was speaking Italian in this dream, fluently.
Yeah. Or they might meet mythological beings, mythological creatures that, we can identify in mythology from the kind of the collective memory of humans. But we've never experienced them personally. But all of a sudden, here they are, in our dreams. So we might meet Pegasus, the flying horse, or a dragon,
or Athena.
Yeah. So all those mythological experiences we know are part of dreams, and most of you have had sometime in your life, I'm sure, some of those experiences. What they're talking about is that deeper unconscious in us. Now, for Jung, that deeper unconscious mind, the collective unconscious, is the very source of creativity, right? Not only artistic creativity, but scientific discovery, innovation. A lot of it, or maybe all of it, comes from that collective unconscious, from that deeper mind. And it comes through individuals like you and me that are willing to pay attention to that deeper mind.
So this whole world is open to us every night.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that you say that you got to work on the personal stuff first.
Absolutely.
And we see a lot of people want to leapfrog, and they want a spiritual bypass and go to the floofy fun stuff, the collective, but they haven't dealt with their own personal life yet, and they haven't kind of uncovered some of their own shadow elements of their personal life and the complexes that they're living out. And then what will happen is it just kind of just projects into the collective, and it's almost like more like working with their personal life and with the archetypes instead of using that collective experience for more spiritual development versus personal. Like there's like the personal life stuff, and then there's my bigger picture of my purpose and my understanding the nature of my consciousness and higher levels of creating and all those things that the mystical part of our life, right? That we feel like the good stuff, but you have to kind of do the work. So, you kind of are familiar with your ego and how it functions and your psyche and your personal experiences. So you can then see what you're not, what that is beyond that.
Right. And in that deeper work of dreams that are coming from the collective unconscious, then we start to see the archetypes there. Mm-hmm. And that's where understanding archetypes comes in handy. So some of the main archetypes that Jung talks about, the mother archetype, the trickster, the magical child or the divine child,
the wise old man or wise old woman.
The wise old man, yes, and the wise old woman, which are part of all of us. Mm-hmm. So these are not personal experiences, right? You don't have to have had a personal experience in those archetypes. They arise spontaneously from that deeper part of our psyche. Mm-hmm. And we share all that psyche together. Mm-hmm. So we all might have that same trickster come up in our dreams, but I will interpret it or I will experience it in a unique way, and you will experience it in your own unique way.
A different symbol. Sometimes it's a crow or a fox or a clown or someone like pecking at you in the dream, and you're just like, why is that person like causing trouble, like tripping things up? Yeah. And that's the trickster. What I'd like too about the what you say about the collective unconscious, that it's a really powerful archetype, is when it has a numinous quality. Exactly. And I love it's a numinous. It's like kind of a glowy quality. Like when you go into a church or go into anything sacred, it kind of has this like light around it, almost like in your mind. Like it feels very, very sacred. And so when you have a dream and there's something in there that you're just like a child or a person that you just feel like they're glowing or they have a special or something even inanimate that feels so special, like a place, that you're in the collective realm, because in the personal life is more like everyday struggles in the dream, driving a car or getting to work, being late, those type of things. And then there's these other dreams that are big dreams, and they're just really telling you a lot about the direction of your life, where you're going. I remember I had a dream right about a year before I met you about my path to meeting you. And it was very symbolic, but I didn't understand what it meant, but I knew it had a numinous quality. So I wrote it down and I said, this is my soulmate dream. And I knew that at the end I would meet this person, like the whole dream was showing me the path, but I didn't have anyone to show me what it meant. And now that I know, I'm like, oh, I could see all the symbolism in that dream and what it was telling me what to do. So it's like having this divine wisdom that has your back. For me, it feels like you have this part of you that loves you so much, that's on your side, that wants you to have everything you want in this world, in this life. If you want love, it's like there, like kind of showing you the way, showing you where you need to turn and make a left here and work on this. It's such a powerful sense of feeling you're taken care of. That's what I love about the dreams the most. Feeling that someone has your back. In a deeper way, but very in a spiritual way. It's really beautiful. Right.
So these archetypes are universal, and Jung really got the idea from traveling to Africa and to the Americas and seeing the same symbols in very different and distinct cultures. The same kind of ideas in their own cultural guise, of course. So there are deeper elements, of course, than archetypal dream symbolism or archetypal dream interpretation. We know, for example, in Eastern philosophy, there's actually practices that focus on dream work, and they take it to a new level. In recent years in the West, there's been this interest in lucid dreaming that has kind of flourished, It is related to some of the Eastern traditions in that they are altered states of consciousness within the dreams. In other words, it's not a typical dream, and it's not even a collective dream. It's more that you become conscious in the dream. You are awake within the dream state.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio's Inception, right?
Yes, very
a
much
dream
like
within
that.
a dream.
Yeah. And there, of course, that ability to wake up in the dream is very useful, especially if you're doing spiritual work, because now you can consciously ask for direction from that deeper, wiser part of our
Instead
mind.
of going back and forth. But in the beginning, you go back and forth, and then eventually, if you work with your dreams enough, the lucid dreaming just starts to take over naturally.
Yes.
Because the dream's like, hey, come over here. Well, let's talk on this side. And we'll figure it out. And it really just, I mean, we don't have time to go into all of it, but I mean, we'd have 2 like very long courses on dreams, level 1 and level 2, dream yoga programs. If you're interested, it's fascinating to learn about the symbols, and there's meditations in there to talk about it. But we encourage you to start by just starting to write down your dreams. And Jung said that even if you just read the dream out loud the next morning, even if you don't know what it means, the dream is activated. And so whatever the message is, it's changing your unconscious mind just by you reading it. And the more you do that, the more you'll dream, and then the more you'll start to understand the patterns. And it's an intuitive process, but having guidance also helps to really master it, and can be a great tool for you to use for your life. And our clients love it. They're like always telling us their dreams and saying, what does this mean? And they're learning how to interpret them themselves. And that's really the key, is you really want to learn to master it yourself. You don't want to have everyone interpret every dream for you.
Yeah. It's a unique skill, and we want to keep it alive. And we find that people often that had no experience with dream work have a talent for it. Because I think if nature gave us that ability to dream, it also gave us the ability to interpret the dreams.
And what I find is artists are naturally have a great dream life, but also very conservative, like financial people, lawyers, people in a very logical job, very, very creative. It's almost like the dream is kind of balancing out their conscious attitude. So if you find yourself very practical, very logical, you may have these incredible dreams, and you're just like, I couldn't make that up. So we encourage you to explore them, write them down, and start to really practice paying attention to them, because they really have some messages for you, that hidden messages to change your life.
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions on topics related to dream work, let us know. We might do a podcast on it.
Yes, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week for the Hidden Messages in Dreams. We also want to remind you that we have our live event in October, Destiny, in LA, and we have another one in London the following week. We would love to see you there. If you're interested, let us know, and we'll just our customer service department will show you how to get tickets to come and join us and really experience dream interpretation, experience visualizations, working with shadow, reaching your dreams, and understanding the higher consciousness and the power that you have to create your life. They're going to be great events, and we'd love to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
So take care, everyone. We'll see you next time on Creative Love Radio.
See you soon. Much love.
You've been listening to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. For more information, visit us on our website at creativelove.com.